Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Impact Series hosted by 40. My name is Michael. I am your host today and one of the co-founders here and also lead recruiter at 40. Thrilled to be joined today by a very successful, lovely lady called Julia Carloff-Winkelmann. I'll just give a quick introduction. So Julia is, she has an extensive background, head of talent at eBay, head of talent acquisition rather at eBay, VP of people at SoundCloud, and now Chief People Officer at Dance. Pretty impressive resume there, Julia. So welcome.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Well, look, I'm sure plenty of people will have seen Dance out and about on the streets in Germany.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, I would expect not just Germany, but obviously in other countries as well. But for those people that perhaps aren't familiar with Dance, aren't familiar with the company, tell us a little bit about the business, but also I know you've got a super cool journey as well as to how you came to join the company. So tell us a bit about your journey in terms of how you joined the company too.
Yeah, happy to do so. So maybe first a few sentences about the company. So our mission is to make the cities more livable. And how do we do that? It's via an e-bike subscription. So you can subscribe to our e-bikes and then you either get an annual subscription or month by month. We are currently in 5 cities. So we started the company in Berlin, but then we also launched Hamburg and Munich in Germany, Vienna in Austria, and Paris in France. And yeah, to your question about how I came to the business, you said in the beginning, I worked at SoundCloud, was leading the people and workplace team there. And that's where I also met Eric Wolfers, who is the founder and CEO of Dance.
Yep.
And it actually was in March 2020. You might remember that time of the first lockdown where people would meet for distance walks, right? Not being allowed to meet in a room.
It's just crazy to think back to that actually happened. We were
exactly
the Corona times. I think people kind of often forget sometimes, but it was only a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, exactly. And it actually happened. So Eric and I met for one of those Corona distance walks, and we were just supposed to catch up how we are, etc. And then he shared that he is about to start a new company and that the idea and the mission of that new company is to make the cities more livable. And then we got into the product, the business model, organizational design, the culture, etc. And later that day, I started talking to my husband about it and was like, so strange. I didn't have any plan to leave SoundCloud at that point in time, but I was like, so strange. I keep thinking about that business and that company, and it sounds super compelling. And then I spoke to 2 of my closest friends. And later that weekend, I sent a note to Eric saying, hey, how about I join that company? Because for me, it was for the first time to build up a company from zero. When I joined SoundCloud, obviously also when I joined eBay, those were eBay, rather big corporate companies, SoundCloud medium size. Sure. But I never joined a company from scratch. So when I joined, there were 3 founders, 5 additional employees, and I was the first executive hired to the team.
Wow. So less than 10 people.
Yes.
At that time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite a big difference to now.
Yes.
So what's the sort of stage of the company at the moment? So how big is the company? What stage are you at?
Yeah. So we are about 50 employees in headquarters and then another 50 in our local operating cities. So headquarter means we are doing software, hardware, central operations, finance, and HR. Obviously also growth and marketing. And then those other employees are local staff on the ground in all of our operating cities. And these are mainly drivers and mechanics. So the idea is really to not only have a vehicle, but also have this full service, like you are getting a repair just on the fingertips of mentioning, hey, something is not working with my bike. I need to book a repair. You park your bike somewhere, and after 24 hours, you can pick it up and it's fully repaired and functioning again, which
Super
we
cool.
really think, yeah, it's super cool, because we really think it's this idea of a premium product experience that is hassle-free. The people who are subscribing to our services are mainly busy people. So they are all in jobs, or obviously freelancers, but working. And we really like that idea of not making sure, not having to queue somewhere for a repair, or maybe waiting in the phone line to get an appointment, but rather using our app that we built, saying something is broken, park your bike, and then pick it up again after 24 hours. So that's cool. Definitely USP that we see with our offering as well.
And so as a business then, I mean, let's say, you know, I don't, but let's say maybe I should, but I don't have a subscription, but let's say I did, you know, and obviously your idea is to make cities more livable, more sustainable. How does having a dance subscription, how does actually using your service, how does that work? How does it make it more livable? How does it more sustainable?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, using an e-bike, and it's super good to test it once, because I have to be honest, before joining the company, I never rode an e-bike, right? And then when I tested it once, I was like, it's faster. You get from A to B without sweating, right? So you can use it for business appointments as well as for private appointments. And the idea is to not use your car, or in the ideal scenario, not even having a car,
not
right?
even own one,
because exactly, because the cars are really what we see in our cities, taking a lot of space, taking space that maybe could be used for our children, for parks, for cafes, right? For better use, to really make the cities more livable, more green, more colorful in a way as well, right? And that's the idea behind it, so that we get really more people using sustainable ways of transport instead of using cars.
And that's cool. And you mentioned that it's obviously a premium offering, premium service. I mean, look, what does a typical subscription look like? How much does it cost a month? I'm assuming there's probably tiers, no doubt, but how much are we talking?
Yeah, so it's between 59 and 79 euro per month. It really depends on annual subscription, month by month. We are also offering additional accessories that come on top of that. We are offering a super safe insurance that comes on top. And then you can also decide, do you want it to be delivered to your doorstep, or do you want it to be delivered to one of our, we call it stations, which is a central place nearby where you live. And then you pick it up yourself. And then we have built a very sleek onboarding experience that is contactless. So through technology, through explanations in our app, through little videos, you can then onboard to your new vehicle without a person basically explaining you, this is how it works. So that's the idea, and that's the price range that we are offering right now.
And is it this aimed at regular consumers, like you said, regular kind of people that are commuting to work, using it for business appointments, like you mentioned? But is there a business to business element with this? Like with you kind of touched it there, with food delivery drivers, last mile?
Yeah, I mean, with food delivery drivers, it's a very good question. We consciously decided to exclude commercial use, and the reason is that we have built our product in-house. It's really a premium product. I mean, when you see it once, you go like, wow, love the color, love the shape of that bike, right? So it's not built for commercial use in that way. It's exactly the use that you are referring to. It's for people going to work, making appointments, using it to ride around the city, maybe also getting out of the city, obviously, but not for commercial use. And then when it comes to businesses, yes, we have a B2B offering, but this is more that we are offering our bikes as a benefit to companies. So if you have your own company and you want to offer a mobility benefit, and especially a sustainable mobility benefit, in Germany, you get certain tax advantages. So it's
Okay.
getting deducted from your gross income, and with that tax advantages, the employee saves 40 to 50% of the subscription fee. So
Oh, wow,
that's
okay.
exactly. So that's one thing that we are doing. And then in Paris, there is a mobility offering that is also supported by the state that we are currently also figuring out in terms of the details. So we already have onboarded more than 100 companies who are offering dance as a benefit.
Brilliant. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I can imagine there's a lot of uptake from those businesses as well. Because like there's a lot of reasons for that, I imagine, but obviously it is a very, very sustainable way of commuting. But also if you're taking away the need to have to pedal super hard up a hill or something like that, and the bike is helping you, like you said, you're not going to get to work and be sweaty, and you can walk from your bike into a meeting, no sweat. So I think that's super cool. Yeah, super cool. Not actually something I hadn't considered.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we sometimes receive that feedback that people are saying, oh, but aren't e-bikes for old people or for lazy people, right? And I used to say, you can ride it without motor support, right? If you want to sweat and if you want to use it as your workout, you don't need to use the motor support, right? So we have built it in a way that there are different supporting systems to support you with either pedaling very hard without any motor support, or pedaling a bit softer, bit of motor support, or getting a lot of motor support. It's fun. It's definitely fun in the city, especially because you don't see it, right? You're standing next to the traffic light with somebody else with another bike, and then you start with your bike and the other person goes like, huh? What is happening here? So that's really nice.
And so remind, which cities are you live in at the moment? So with Berlin, Paris, where else?
So Berlin and Paris are our two largest cities. So there, the demand is very high. Those cities also invested a lot into bike infrastructure, not only since the pandemic, but even more since then. So that's great to see. And then the other cities are Hamburg and Munich in Germany, and Vienna in Austria.
Okay. Are there plans to expand that out further into other territories? I mean, the Netherlands would be one that springs to mind as a hotspot for bicycles. I can imagine that's on the roadmap.
Yes, so we definitely have additional cities on our roadmap. I can't share any details there, but yes, to your point, I think there are great cities like Amsterdam, like Copenhagen, and many more, which are already very bike friendly. And yes, I think our model would make total sense to bring to these cities.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, brilliant. So in terms of as far as the business development so far, then, so like you said, 100 million employees. I think you said,
not 100 million employees.
100 million employees. Imagine that. Be the biggest company in the world. 100 employees. Series A stage.
Yes, Series A.
Funding so far, and over 50 million total funding so far, and a 12 million round earlier this year. So look, the business is obviously going very well, very successful already. But what does the future look like? So if we're to fast forward the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, what does dance look like in the future?
Yes. I mean, I think we are already on the right track to become the category leader for e-bikes, right? And e-bikes in that sense of e-bike subscription. Of course, there are other e-bikes out there as well. Some of them struggling while we are talking right now, because hardware is hard, right? It's very capital intense. So it's definitely a challenge. But I think when you look at the category of e-bike subscription, we will become that leader. I'm pretty convinced. We will definitely go in additional cities. Can't share any details there. But I think, really making sure we create that movement that we now started creating in some of those cities, and making sure this movement is also happening in additional cities is what the future will look like for us. Also onboarding more companies, right? More companies offering dance as a benefit. that's definitely what our future holds.
And I know you've got some exciting news coming up, from an announcements perspective, partnerships. I know you can't talk about everything right now, but there are a few things kind of bubbling away. But are there any things, snippets you can give us of sort of potential partnerships or relationships you've got in the pipeline?
Yeah, I mean, what we announced already is a partnership with Miles, car sharing, because we believe you sometimes might need a car, right? So it makes sense to then not own a car, but use one of these sharing models. So that's one partnership that we announced. We might announce another similar partnership anytime soon. And then, we are soon approaching one of the next milestones when it comes to the size of our members. Most likely in the next 1 or 2 weeks. So stay tuned for that.
Well, we'll obviously be tagging you into the post so people can follow Dance, follow your socials, LinkedIn and otherwise, and then they'll receive that news, those exciting kind of that news coming out in the next few weeks. Julie, I suppose it wouldn't be right to have you on the show without talking about talent and recruitment and staffing. So obviously, you've got the t-shirt, you've been there, seen it, done it. In terms of your background experience when it comes to all things kind of talent and recruiting. But obviously, there is a lot of flux. There's a lot of change in the market at the moment. Obviously, we've got the financial situation as it is. So what do you see like the topics from a talent recruiting cultural perspective that are kind of evolving further, and what do you think those trends might look like in the future?
No, good question. And it's not fun to be an HR leader nowadays, right? I think the last 3 years have been very challenging for people leaders. And I think, unfortunately, some of that challenging times will continue. So cost cuttings, I think, will remain a theme, and hence recruiting is not that popular of a topic anymore. And the former recruiters in my team, or also people on my network, now are really thinking about how to pivot those skills, right? And one thing that I keep telling them is, hey, as a recruiter, you have strong interviewing skills, as one example. How about you use those interviewing skills for doing retention interviews, for doing stay interviews, making sure you also develop skills for people operations, making sure you develop skills for learning and development. So how can you really develop as a recruiter or recruiting leader and make sure you gain additional skills? So I think that's one trend that will continue. I think the other one that will continue is that companies will more focus on flexible resources, right? So companies will maybe try to avoid to have a huge headcount baseline that will be hard to reduce, but rather maybe work with freelancers or work with people from agencies. So I think all of that will continue. And then I guess the third part will definitely, how do people want to work, right? I think many people started enjoying remote first. Many people still on my team, and we as an executive team are all remote first, and decided that the whole headquarter will be remote first. I think this will continue, that people enjoy the flexibility working from other places, enjoy the flexibility seeing their families that are maybe not in the same city, seeing their friends that are maybe not in the same city. So I think companies need to be very conscious about what their operating model will look like internally, right? And how they want to support this need or this request for flexibility. And then I guess last but not least, the whole topic around benefits. So what do companies see as their values, and how can they make sure that the benefits they offer are not costing them a lot, one, but also two, speak about their values, right? And I think one benefit that comes to my mind, and that I have introduced at Dance as well, is mental health support. I think that is something that is super beneficial to employees, and I would always recommend offering that. and or of course what we are doing at Dance, mental and physical health support using a bike, navigating in the city.
But
right?
even that, exercise, we know it's
Exactly.
proven to boost. Exercise helps your mental health. So if you're more active, you're naturally you have high levels of mental well-being and wellness in general.
Agreed.
But I mean, the whole I think the mental wellness subject is a very important topic as well. It's something that it's talked about a lot more, much more now than it ever was when I first got into recruitment and talent all them 15 plus years ago, which was never kind of talked about then, but it is now. But it's to have a happy, healthy, mentally fit workforce. Look, it's great for the individual because obviously they're happy, healthy, feeling good about themselves, but it's also win-win for the business because we know that happy employees, they're more productive.
Exactly.
And
fully agree with you. Yes,
it makes complete sense. I mean, and in terms of, I suppose, look to try and to pick up on some of the other points you made as well. There's definitely been a dip in terms of obviously number of roles and availability of roles. We've seen roles down, obviously applicants going up. It's kind of the natural way of things is that when we kind of enter these kind of slower economic times, we've been through from a recruitment standpoint anyway, the last couple of years have been busier than they've ever been. And it is natural that there is this, if kind of full-time permanent employment roles reduce, the number of freelance roles increase. And I think it's still important to note that, even if you are going down that route, historically, there might have only been a few options available to you to work for a purpose-driven business. So if you were a freelancer and you wanted to kind of remain true to your kind of morals and your values, very difficult to kind of go from contract to contract where, you're working for a business that you believe in their product, it's having a positive impact on society or the planet. Now there are lots of great options. There's lots of great companies like Dance. We've had over, I think it's over 70 climate tech businesses on the podcast now, which even 5 years ago, there just wasn't that number of out there. So it's incredible to see there are a lot of options available to people, whether it's for full-time permanent positions, internal roles, or external freelance opportunities. To look, if you're a software developer or otherwise, use your superpowers for good still, and employ those as a freelancer for different purpose-driven businesses as well.
Agreed. And I mean, for me personally, that's also why I joined Dance. I always used to refer to those 3 Ps, right? It's about purpose, product, and people. So I think that is, the same for full-time employees as for people on limited contracts, as for freelancers, right? So I think that will not go away. And that's what is motivating people. And especially if they can work for a business or for a company that is changing the world. Sounds a bit pathetic, but it's true, right?
But it's we can't change the world on our own. We have as companies, businesses, we need to collaborate and work together. And the more and more businesses that go on a similar journey to Dance or like ourselves at 4.0, we've recently got our B Corp certification. Very proud of that, which you can see on my background. But the more and more companies that add to the movement, the quicker we can try and combat this kind of climate crisis we find ourselves in. So, look, Julia, it's been a pleasure. The time has flown by, but we are kind of coming towards the end of our allotted slot here. So I'd like to thank you a lot for coming on to the show and being a fantastic guest. And it's hopefully once we'll include those links so people can check out your announcements, and then be nice to circle back to you or someone else within the Dance family in a year or so and catch up and see what that development has looked like and how things are going at that time. Yes, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thank you. I'll see you. Bye-bye.